Okay, Tom, the well-traveled American here again, and it's 8 January 2026. I'm going to start out today with a little news from Mideast. Iranian protests starting to really become a big deal in Iran, spreading to many, many cities, as you can see by the map right here from the Institute of the Study of Warfare, which is a pretty reliable source. I rely upon them for a lot of my intel. You can see that there's almost 90 protests over 21 provinces. That's a lot. Many of these are at this point in time becoming, as we say in the business, kinetic. That means that there's violence happening. Violence is starting to flare up in Iran. The protesters are not just lighting things on fire and throwing rocks anymore at this point in time. They are now starting to obtain more lethal means, such as guns. And there's some shootouts with the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, that's basically the armed thug force of the Ayatollah. People are now starting to fight back. And I'll tell you, that's a big deal. When people are actually willing to put it all out on the line and shoot it out with the police or the IRGC, the thugs of the administration, so to speak, that's a big step. And I see that is beginning to actually happen in Iran. Oops, a little ahead of ourselves there. We're going to have to talk about some domestic things first, but I want to touch on the fact that a lot of things happening. Day before, we talked about the United States capturing not one but two Russian ships, despite the protestations from Putin and his buddies in the Kremlin. That went down. I see that the people of Iran are becoming more emboldened. The promise from the Trump administration has been that they're going to take action if Iran starts killing its own people. Well, that's beginning to happen. The gloves are starting to come off on both sides. And of course, there has been supply flights come in that we've tracked from Russia, from China, to Iran, and I'm sure it was some type of weaponry to the government there to repress its own people. The question is the United States actually going to step up and actually provide some support? I hope they do. The people in Iran deserve their freedom from the oppressive Islamic regime that's there. Theocracy is not good. And they need to have some freedom. They've been looking for about 40 some odd, 45 years now. So they are hungry for it. And hopefully they'll have the ability to weather the storm. Freedom's not free, folks. Got to pay for it. There's going to be blood spilled. That's how it works. Ask the people in Ukraine about that. And a lot of this is due to their sacrifice. Russia is unable to help out to a large degree because they're busy in Ukraine. Just ask Maduro how that went. Okay. I think this is going to affect things in a large way in Ukraine, actually, also, because if Putin is stripped of another one of his allies, it's going to be increasingly difficult for him in his war in Ukraine. All right, as promised yesterday, going to go a little domestic here. Going to talk about the news media's coverage of the incident. Just when I thought there'd be a focus on corruption in Minnesota, well, here in Minneapolis, we had a shooting with ICE agents and a violent protester. I'm going to use the word violent because that's what it was. They used a car as a weapon. They struck an ICE officer with the car. Of course, he reacted as protocol calls. He took a shot. He took a couple shots and he killed that protester. This was a person who was not there by accident. This was a person who interjected themselves in between criminals and federal agents. Let me just tell you, this is not a complex thing to understand here. If there's a bank robbery in progress, and you decide to get in between the bank robbers and the police, that's a really dumb thing to do. That's not a good place for anyone to be. If you did it on purpose, that's really insane. And if you choose to take the side of the criminals by aiding and abetting the criminals, you're going to get what you're going to get. And as far as I can tell, most of the time, if you do those sorts of things, you are charged with the crime that the criminal's involved in. You are then, by definition, an accomplice. This woman was an accomplice of the illegal aliens. Sorry, that's how it works. It's pretty simple stuff. So, did she deserve to get killed? Probably not. But then again, when you use lethal force against police officers, against federal agents, yeah, you can probably expect that there's going to be some pushback. And that's what happened. The real tragedy here is not that. The tragedy is the absolutely slanted, unfair news coverage they have repeatedly put out on the airwaves to everyone in the world, an angle, a view that fits their narrative. They like it that way. They want to blame the Trump administration. They want to blame the police officers, the agents, for going out and doing their sworn duty. So they pick a view to present that furthers their cause. You had to dig around, and only after the fact did we find actual video footage from a different angle that tells us a different story. Yes, the agent was hit by the car, by the vehicle. You can see him afterwards limping away. He shook it off. And, most of these guys are pretty tough guys, but anybody who's ever played sports or been involved in the military or in a physical type of job knows that when you're in a stressful situation, you shake that stuff off and you keep moving. A day later, you go, wow, man, my back really hurts. Oh, I'm screwed up here. I got to go see the doctor. My neck is, really messed up. Yeah. So it's no surprise to me that, he shook it off after he went away limping for 5 or 10 steps, and then he started to walk a little bit straighter because the situation demands that type of behavior. The adrenaline that's injected into one's body gives you the strength to shake that stuff off, and you continue on, particularly people who are military types, athletic types. That's what they do. So, yeah, after thorough investigation, we found no evidence of purported slant in coverage. Yeah, really? Seriously? Apparently, the standard news media thinks we're all fools and we have no access to any other information. Well, Flash news, it's 2026. There's coverage of everything nowadays. There's a million videos from all sorts of angles for just about everything that's out there in the world. You can't step outside your front door without being filmed, photographed, and cataloged. So the days of the slanted news lies without any actual ability to push back are pretty much coming to an end. And this is why there is an overwhelming disgust of news media, because people are getting news in other sources, and I'm happy to be one of those sources. Remember, like, and subscribe. I have to say that I hate doing it because it seems so tiresome, but I do need people to do that so we can push this out to more and more people. This was 8 January, and I'll probably be back tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, I will be on local radio WCHE out of Westchester, Pennsylvania tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'll be giving an international news update and probably some other commentaries while I'm there. So that's it, and I'm out of here again tonight. Thank you very much.